So there's some new reporting about the status of the New York investigations into Donald Trump. And hold on tight, friends, because the searing injustice of this one is going to leave a mark. But let's talk about it, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So let me warn you right at the top that the next two stories we're going to talk about in combination may give you whiplash, and they may frustrate you and they may infuriate you because of what Donald Trump continues to get away with. Let's start with the reporting from CNN. New York grand jury hearing evidence in district attorney's investigation into Trump Organization expires this week. And that article begins, a special grand jury seated to hear evidence in the Manhattan District Attorney's investigation into the Trump Organization's finances is set to expire at the end of the week and will not be extended. The 6-month special grand jury, which was impaneled in October, heard evidence last year from several witnesses, including reporters, to whom former President Donald Trump boasted about his personal wealth. Presentations to the grand jury were halted earlier this year after Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg was sworn into the office and raised concerns about the strength of the evidence. In other words, killed the case. Now, here's the new reporting from the Daily Beast. Trump admits he oversaw pay for executive who got fishy perks. And that article begins, in a lawsuit's never-before-seen testimony, Donald Trump admitted to personally overseeing the compensation of an executive whose corporate perks have been under scrutiny by the Manhattan District Attorney, potentially strengthening the case against the former president and his company for tax fraud. Trump's sworn testimony was filed in New York State Court on Tuesday as part of a lawsuit against the Trump Organization over the way its security guards manhandled protesters outside Trump Tower in 2015. According to a transcript of the October 18, 2021 deposition, Trump reportedly asserted that he and only he oversaw the way Matthew Calamari Sr. was paid for his work as the family company's chief operating officer. Quote, "It would be me," Trump repeatedly said when asked who had authority over Calamari's compensation. That would make Trump personally responsible for any tax-dodging scheme, and more importantly, is useful evidence in the grand jury investigation that has yet to produce an indictment against him. So, let's get a couple of things out of the way up front. First of all, you can't make up a name like Matthew Calamari, right? Does he have friends named Jimmy Prosciutto, Tony Minestrone? Forget about it. Okay, back to the serious. The Daily Beast article asserts quite accurately that this really important evidence would be useful in the grand jury investigation into Donald Trump's crimes. A grand jury investigation that Alvin Bragg just killed. You see why I warned you that these two stories in combination could give you whiplash and infuriate you? Because let's unpack what's going on here. Remember, the Trump Organization stands criminally indicted. They're pending trial this fall. They're indicted in Manhattan for running a 15-year-long criminal scheme to defraud in the first degree by, among other things, criminally failing to pay taxes, New York City taxes, New York State taxes, federal taxes as well, though that's not part of the New York charge. Put a pin in that. And Alan Weisselberg, Donald Trump's right-hand man, chief financial officer of the Trump Organization, is criminally indicted pending trial in Manhattan for the same 15-year criminal scheme to defraud in the first degree for criminally failing to pay New York City taxes, New York State taxes on things like luxury apartments and luxury cars that the Trump Organization was giving Weisselberg and other members of the organization, and they were criminally failing to pay taxes on any of it, right? A fairly easy and compelling tax crimes case to prove. But one of the reasons, I guess, Alvin Bragg and others say, "Whoa, but it's so hard to charge Donald Trump criminally because he's just going to claim Weisselberg oversaw all this compensation and all this corruption." Donald Trump in a deposition said Matthew Calamari getting the same criminal perks, the same criminal compensation, and apparently failing to pay the same taxes, New York City taxes, New York State taxes, federal taxes, a pin is still in that over here. Donald Trump said, "I alone am responsible." In other words, I should be criminally indicted for being part of the same 15-year criminal scheme to defraud because I committed the same crimes for which my organization and my chief financial officer are indicted and are pending trial in the fall. So let's just briefly return to the Daily Beast article, because with Trump's admissions under oath in a deposition that he was solely responsible for this corrupt compensation scheme for Matthew Calamari, that would make Trump personally responsible for any tax dodging scheme, and more importantly, is useful evidence in Alvin Bragg's grand jury investigation. But Alvin Bragg just killed that grand jury investigation. Okay, so let's go back over here where we put a pin in the sort of federal tax crimes issue. So even Alan Weisselberg is presently indicted for committing New York City tax crimes, New York State tax crimes, and the New York authorities said, by the way, he committed federal tax crimes as well, but we can't charge him with that. Only the federal government can. Department of Justice. DOJ can indict Alan Weisselberg for his federal tax crimes as chief financial officer for the Trump Organization, just as it now seems they could charge Donald Trump with federal tax crimes for pulling off the same criminal scheme with Matthew Calamari. Have we seen any federal indictments for tax fraud by Alan Weisselberg, Donald Trump, or other members of the Trump Organization? We have not. DOJ, if you are listening, they don't seem to be listening. Let's finish up with this, because now that we know there is even more evidence, sworn deposition testimony that seems to incriminate Donald Trump, that would be useful in the district attorney's grand jury investigation that Alvin Bragg killed. Here's what has to happen. New York Governor Hochul should either use whatever lawful authority she has to reassign the Trump criminal investigation and prosecution away from Alvin Bragg and to somebody who will give it a fair look, or she should use whatever lawful authority she has to remove Alvin Bragg and put a district attorney in the Manhattan office to give the Trump case a fair look, or if she will do neither of those two things, then New Yorkers should vote in a governor who will. Because the candidates who are running for governor in New York, both Republicans and Democrats, have all pledged that they will remove Alvin Bragg and put somebody in who will give the Trump case a fair look. Now, of course, those are campaign promises, but regardless of what happens to Alvin Bragg, I would urge all investigative journalists who have anything to do with the New York crime beat or the New York politics beat to investigate who filled Alvin Bragg's campaign coffers when he was running for district attorney. Because often if you follow the money, then you can figure out why politicians acted the way they did. But we've got to get to the bottom of this. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.